Let's hit the field.
We have got instant reaction to Yankees versus Blue Jays under the lights in Tampa. Plus, Vladdy Guerrero Jr. is having some contract difficulties. Could he end up being a Yankee, and do we now know his price? Plus, the Giancarlo Stanton situation is super sketchy. We got Austin Wells back in the leadoff spot, and we got Terrence on the show tonight to talk about state of the Yankees. All of that and more coming up next. This is Pinstripe Territory.
Just wanted to talk, that's all.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Little walk-off win for the Yankees here on a Friday night in spring training under the lights. Joining me tonight is the man we call TK, Mr. Terrence out there in California. This is year number 2 for you, Terrence. You're not a rookie anymore. You ready to do some damage, ready to drive in some runs?
Ready to go. Sophomore season on deck. Let's do it.
Let's hope you don't have the sophomore slump.
Oh! Never.
So this year, TK, the post-game podcast is not just going to be recaps of the game. We're going to pack it wall-to-wall with can't-miss Yankees content. So everybody needs to like and subscribe right now. But let's get to the game so that we can unpack this walk-off win, and then we'll get to some of the other stuff. So leadoff home run from Austin Wells in the first inning. Obviously, leadoff first inning. Cody Bellinger also went deep in the first inning. We'll talk more about the leadoff spot later on. Cody Bellinger has looked tremendous this spring, TK. I think he's going to have a big year. He had 2 hits tonight. He's swinging the bat really well. He looks really comfortable out there in center field. I'm really loving this pickup.
Oh, yeah, I think he's going to be a really great fit with the Yankees. Meredith Marakovitz had kind of had the same prediction. She was talking about how his swing fits really well in Yankee Stadium. I also kind of like that his dad was a Yankee. I think that like legacy is kind of cool, wearing the same number, because Clay Holmes isn't wearing it anymore. And
Thank God.
You know, I think he's going to be a really good fit, man. He's a great glove. He's versatile. He can play all 3 outfield positions at a high level. Can play first base. Can DH. His swing has always been like a little long, but it works for him, man. I think 35 home runs this season. I think he hit 47 when he won the MVP with the Dodgers, which is he's not that player. He's not that player anymore.
It's not that league anymore, too. That was the year Glaber hit 38. That was like juiced baseball year. However, he did have the shoulder injury. He changed his swing a little bit. He hit 307 with, I believe, 26 home runs 2 years ago. I'll sign up for that right now. I want the 300 as much as I want the power. Like we need that high contact lefty. I think he's going to be that guy. But since you mentioned him, let's hear it for Clay Holmes. Fan favorite Clay Holmes. Second inning, I'm sure you saw this. Yorbit Vivas smoked a laser beam right back up the middle. He also had an RBI single in the 4th inning. I like his swing, dude. You pointed out last year that it's got a little bit of Rougned Odor in there. He's got a little bit of a hitch for sure, but once he gets past that initial hitch, his swing is smooth as silk. He had an eye socket injury last year that kind of cost him some time. But he's my sleeper pick. Now that there's kind of an opening at third base, he could step up if he hits over the next couple of weeks. We saw Boone giving him the business in the dugout at one point. What do you think that was about? Maybe a base running thing because he was kind of like pointing or whatever. I don't know.
I don't know. I was trying to read his lips. Boone's lips, and all I can see is like he's giving him that coach speak with the, you know, we don't do that kind of thing. And I was wondering what that was about, but I think it's just kind of a teaching moment for a young player. But he almost killed the pitcher, dude. He almost murdered him.
Almost took his head off.
Like he had to get out of the way. Really silky smooth swing. It's funny now because a few years back we were so right-handed heavy, and now we're kind of left-handed heavy, and I almost rather him if he was a righty hitter because that's what they need. They need a righty bat, man.
Well,
with Stanton going down.
All things being equal, the stadium that we play in, it's better to be left-handed heavy than right-handed heavy, right? So I would prefer that, but yeah, I mean we could use a right-handed power bat. We'll talk a little bit about what we could do in the absence of Giancarlo Stanton, whether JD Martinez is an option. I've seen some people bring him up. I can pull up his StatCast numbers and we can riff on him a little bit. But Everson Pereira is right-handed. He hit an absolute monster home run in the 8th inning. Wow. Hanging slider had to go over 400 feet. I didn't see the StatCast numbers yet. But the best part about it is that the crowd was kind of filtering out at that point, so you could hear the individual responses. And as soon as he made contact, this one guy behind the plate knew it was gone, and he kind of lets out one of these, oh, just kind of, oh, he got it. So that was beautiful. That was a nice tater, as they call it. But we'll talk about him later. Ball was crushed. Yankees come back to win in a sloppy ninth inning.
Game over. Yankees win. Yankees win.
Now, TK, we got to do the belt. And on a night like tonight, I mean, you could give it to Gabrielson, who got the game-winning hit, but I don't even have his picture. I've only heard of him this year. So we're going to go ahead and give it to the regular. We're going to give it to the guy who had a good night and who hit a big home run in the first inning. Mr. Cody Bellinger picks up the belt. And I don't think it played the music, but maybe it is playing. I don't hear it in my headphones. I got no music in my headphones. Spaghetti, 8 Mile.
It's playing. It's playing.
Oh, is it? Okay. There we go. All right. Well, anyway, belt win for Cody Bellinger, his first belt of the season. Nice win for the Yankees. All right, so let's move on to Marcus Stroman. He got the start tonight. I thought he threw the ball pretty well, TK. I don't read too much into what veterans do in spring training because they're just getting their work in, and they're just saving their best bullets for when it matters. That being said, he had not looked good this spring, and tonight he looked great. I mean, we saw the cutter. He was mixing in and out, up and down, getting it on people's hands. He did serve up a monster home run in the first inning, but kind of settled down after that. Final line, 3 innings, 2 hits, 1 run, no walks, 2 strikeouts. Not too bad, TK.
No, yeah, he just had one mistake pitch tonight. Just kind of hung a slider, and then obviously went in. When the guy went deep there, but for him, he doesn't throw that hard. He's like 89, 90 with the sinker, so he's got to rely on location. What is it, Mike Mussina living on the black? I mean, he's got to live on the black.
Living on the edge.
Exactly.
Yep.
So it's good to see that the cutter looked good, the sinker looked good, because you're not going to throw straight heaters anymore at that velocity. You got to have pitches that have some movement on them, create some of that weak contact. I don't expect him to strike too many guys out this season, but just get the weak contact, get the ground balls, the weak fly balls. Get outs. That's it. I'm kind of optimistic. History has shown us that he has good first halves and not so great second halves. I know you've mentioned this, Derek, but if he has a great first half and gives us like 12, 13, 14 really solid starts, and then Heel comes back just in time, and then right in time for him to not hit his 140 inning mark, perfect.
That's the card playing out the way you want it to play out. Let's talk a little bit about Big G, who is going to be going back to New York to get a 3rd round of these PRP injections. Now, they said the other day that they're not going to rule out surgery. I'm starting to think that surgery is pretty much a guarantee at this point. I don't check social media a lot. I mean, during the winter when, the hot stove is happening, I do, but usually this time of year, if something happens with the Yankees, 9 people are texting me within 30 seconds, and so I don't really miss anything. But today I picked up my iPhone, and I had a bunch of unread notifications from Twitter. And at the top of it, it said, Giancarlo Stanton rejoins Yankees, back in camp with the Yankees. And then I swiped like 3 more, and it says, Giancarlo Stanton headed back to New York for another round of PRP injections. And I had to make sure it wasn't from like a week ago. No, he's going back to get more injections. I mean, this whole situation feels sketchy to me. Why didn't they get this done during the offseason? Is he just going to be a brain in a jar when this contract is over? He had a beard, but still no arms, still no legs. I don't know what we're going to do here, TK.
Just a torso at this point. Just stick him in the hyperbolic chamber until October, I guess. But you got to get to October, and he does help you do that during the season. So with him, he's so frustrating, right? Because if you go back to 2017, he won the MVP. He hit 59 home runs with the Marlins, and the Yankees make the trade. And if you look at what they gave up for him, you make that trade every day. You're trading for a perennial physical specimen MVP type player who just hit 59 home runs, and you're going to pair him with Judge. Obviously, you make that trade. And then he was pretty much that player for 2018. He was pretty healthy. I think he hit like 38 home runs, I want to say. So he had a very good year. But since then, he's just been season after season just getting hurt and hurt and hurt. And it's so frustrating. And he's become a one-dimensional player. He's a bat. He can't play the field. He's a base-to-base guy. He ties up a lot of money that you could spend in other places. He ties up the roster and the flexibility of the lineup. But it's hard to hate him because he just shows up in October. It's like the most perplexing Yankee I've had to see in my young life so far, honestly.
Yeah, it's very odd. He reminds me of this old skit that I saw on late night TV. It might have been like Kids in the Hall or something. Somebody can probably find it on YouTube, but it's this music video about a guy just swinging his arms around. You know, he can't move them, and it turns out he slept on his arms. He has no feeling in his left arm or his right because he slept on his arms last night, and he's just like flopping around. But he's got no use in his arms, got no use in his legs. I mean, I don't get it. I love what he did in the postseason, but the dude is just falling apart at the seams, quite literally. I've seen a lot of people say that the Yankees should sign JD Martinez. 235 with 16 home runs last year. Apparently still hits lefties pretty well. 37 years old. As somebody who has been 37 and has gone through his late 30s, I can tell you from year to year, it just gets more and more difficult, and your reaction time gets slower, and it's way faster than you think. I mean, even for an athlete, I'm sure it's got to be difficult. Honestly, right now, I would go with one of the kids rather than JD Martinez, and I'll pull up his stats in a second when I hand you the mic, but I'll just give you my plan, and I want to hear your thoughts on this too. So either Ben Rice is your DH and everything else stays the same. Judge in right, Bellinger in center, Dominguez in left. Or you bring up Everson Pereira, who swung the bat well tonight, who's swinging the bat well in spring training. He is, let's see what his numbers are in spring training right now. He's in 375 with a 1.224 OPS in spring. So obviously got some thump in the bat. Even though it's spring, we don't want to count stats. He looks good. And look, you could bring him up. He's not ready to play the outfield yet, but when he is, he's an elite outfielder. He's coming back from Tommy John surgery. He's going to be getting into the outfield more in the next, several weeks, Aaron Boone said. But I think you could put him in right field, have Aaron Judge be your DH until Stanton gets back. And now you've got, an extra right-handed bat with some thump. You've got that, and he's young and he's inexpensive. You don't have to pay $10 million for him. If you're not going to use your farm system, what's the point of even having a farm system? And I get it. People say if you move Dominguez to DH, that's incredibly short-sighted. You don't have to do it. I mean, that's one way to go. You could move Dominguez to DH, put Judge in right, put Pereira in left field. You could also have just Judge be the DH. There's a lot of flexibility there in your lineups if you have Pereira. And if Dominguez is killing you defensively, which we're going to talk about, this gives you some time to get him in the DH spot, let him work on the side with Grisham, with Bernie, with whoever the outfield coach is. You can get better just by practicing, during BP, taking the plays live, right? Treating them as live and just working on your reaction time, your routes, and things like that. But right now, I'm really super concerned about Dominguez's defense. I think this is one way around it. I don't think that JD Martinez is the answer offensively. So I know that's a lot and it was kind of jumbled there, but let me hear your thoughts.
Absolutely not on JD Martinez. Not because I don't think he's a good player or I don't think he would be serviceable, but because I think the fit is weird. If you sign JD Martinez to a 1-year contract and Stanton comes back in July, what do you do with JD Martinez? Then it's kind of like you have two of the same kind of player on your roster. It's a redundancy. I'd much rather go with the kids in the DH role. And you're kind of throwing out a lot of different ideas. For me, the DH should be like a rotation where some days Judge DHs and some days Jasson DHs and Goldschmidt and Bellinger. And you can kind of just keep rotating that through. I think defensively, I'd much rather see Pereira in left, Judge in right, Martian DH. That's the best defensive way to go with keeping the Martian's bat in the lineup. And yeah, I like what I've seen from Pereira so far. He had a short stint in the Bronx a couple years ago in September call-up, got hurt, so he didn't really get a shot. So he looks really good in spring. I'm fine with having him, with seeing what he can do. Frankly, I mentioned this in the green room with Derek, so to speak, the virtual one at least, that I'd almost rather have him as like the fourth outfielder and see if he can deal Grisham. He probably can't, not for much at least, but he doesn't make a ton of money. He's a great fielder. He's just not a great bat. But I'm totally in favor of Pereira being on this roster come around, and I really like what I've seen from Ben Rice as well, man. Who offensively he looks good. He's hitting the ball really, really hard. He's put on some weight. Whether they want to do it where he's the backup catcher or they want to have three catchers on the roster, but Rice kind of platoons with Goldschmidt at first and DH. So I'd like to see Rice and Pereira kind of in the mix for the DH spot there. And then defensively, you can kind of figure it out. But I'm not so much in favor of just like having one guy be the DH. I'd much like to see them that take advantage of the fact that Stanton's not playing to be able to kind of rotate that DH around the field, if you will, which I think is the better way to go if I'm managing a team for any club in the league. Honestly, I don't really like so much a DH that's on your team and that's all he does.
Gregory Wayne says, why is Dominguez not playing left field every day right now? I agree with you. I hope he's at least taking reps every single day, getting some work in. He has played a lot. He also hasn't hit very much, so he's not having a great spring. I hope he turns it on, man. I hate to be wrong on him because I've invested a lot of time in. You
got merch, dude. There's merch.
Oh man!
I've never been so wrong in my whole life.
Anyway,
there's merch. You invested merch.
So let's talk about the leadoff spot. Austin Wells at the leadoff spot tonight. He swung the bat well, home run in the first, ground ball with eyes in the second. How do you like the idea of hitting him leadoff? The Yankees have never had a catcher hit leadoff for the obvious reasons. They're slow. He's not that slow. I mean, he's not that fast, but he's young at least. His legs should be solid. And you don't run a lot in front of Judge anyway. He walks a lot. He's very patient. He might be able to get a good look at what the pitcher's throwing and kind of tip Judge off, which could help, But again, there's something about it. I would rather have him with his power be in the middle of the order and have someone like Dominguez or even Volpe up near the top. Some people say Jazz. I know Boone has flirted with Jazz being at the leadoff spot, but my issue with that is he doesn't get on base a ton. I know he's got speed, but again, speed is not that important at the top of this lineup when you got Judge hitting second because most of the time you're not going to run with Judge on base. You want him to hit the 2-run home run. So your thoughts on the leadoff spot right now? If you had to fill out the opening day lineup, who would you put in there?
It's tough. I don't really know yet. But Wells in the leadoff spot, it's kind of like, here, let me put it this way. It's giving Kyle Schwarber in the leadoff spot with the Phillies. It's very much like that. And that's not that's like an issue. It's just a very, it's kind of unorthodox, I guess. It's kind of the new school of thought of baseball, a guy who can get on base a lot and has a lot of pop. And like you said, if Judge is hitting behind you, it doesn't really matter. Now, I've been a big proponent of this, and he just hasn't shown it. But Volpe is the perfect leadoff hitter. He's just not that good of a hitter. He doesn't get it on enough. He strikes out too much. But if he takes another step forward, I would like to see him try to secure that spot, but he just hasn't shown it. But unfortunately, he is the perfect player on this roster to do it. Jazz, I'd rather have him in the middle of the lineup as well because he's got some pop. I think he hit like 24 home runs or 20, something around in the mid-20s last year. Lefty, full season in Yankee Stadium. I think he can get to 30. I really do. So I'd rather him in the middle of the lineup. I think other than Volpe, like I guess Jasson is kind of the best bet because he's got really good speed. He gets on base a lot, switch hitter. I think it just makes a lot of sense. You got Judge batting behind him, so there's really good protection for him. He's going to see a lot of pitches. Yep. I think the big advantage to Wells being in the leadoff spot is just his thought process. He's a catcher, so he kind of knows, I guess, how pitchers attack hitters, and he's thinking like a catcher in terms of the way pitches are moving. So he may be able to kind of give that sort of information to the rest of the lineup, but I don't want him to change his approach. And a lot of guys, when they get in the leadoff spot, it's like they're changing their approach. Oh, I got to take more pitches. I can't be as aggressive. And I want Wells to mash, man, because I think he can. I think he really can. 30 bombs is on the table, I feel like. 20, 30 bombs is on the table for him.
Raleigh says, our leadoff hitter is not on our roster yet.
Wrong.
Yeah, I disagree on that one. Speaking of Jasson Dominguez, on a scale of 1 to 10, how concerned are you with his defense at this point? I'm up there, man. I need to think about it for a second, but where are you at?
I'm concerned. It's safe to say that I'm concerned. It's not what you want. To quote Joe Girardi, he's supposed to be our starting left fielder or center fielder. But the thing that Michael Kay reported that you had mentioned, what the scout was saying, that's concerning stuff, man. Now, I'll give him a break in this respect. 2020, he was 17 years old. He lost that entire season to COVID, obviously, so he didn't get to play. And then he spent a lot of the time in the minor leagues hurt, so he didn't really get the reps. So I think he's kind of like caught between a rock and a hard place in the sense where his bat is major league ready, but his defense is not. So he's kind of in that in-between no man's land. And I hate to say it, but I feel like the only way out of this is you just got to throw him out there and hope for the best, man, because he needs the reps. He needs the reps. Now, I think it's probably better now that the Yankees have put Bellinger in center. I'd much rather have an elite center fielder in terms of their glove and almost, I guess, try to hide Jasson in left. He's not going to be able to hide. That left field in Yankee Stadium is really big. But you know what I mean? I feel like the best way to handle him is, look, Soto in right last year, he wasn't a great defender, but he was a great hitter. I'm not going to say that Jasson's going to be Soto. We have no idea, right? But I think he's going to be a very good offensive player. So for me, Jasson, just tell him this. Hey, look, we're going to put you in left. Just don't try to be insane, making like diving plays and stuff. Just make the plays, all right? Relax. You're a major leaguer. You're supposed to be here. We give
That's
you a good
the problem,
number.
TK. He can't make the fucking plays. That's the problem.
Hey, this is my thing. This is how you do it. You have him play deep every time. You got to have him play deep. You can't,
unless he plays in the upper deck. I mean, my concern level is probably a 9 right now. I've watched like 4 games this spring, and he's got like 4 bobbles and drops every time. Like, he's made a couple of nice running catches every single game. He's going to absolutely kill us out there. I still think he's going to be an elite offensive player, but man, I'm really concerned. I'm glad he's working with Bernie. But that would make a lot more sense if he was playing center field, right? So, you know, it is what it is. Like you said, just throw him out there. Throw him out there.
That's all you can do. You just got ride him or die. Like, that's it. You got to do it.
Let's talk Vladdy. He apparently spoke to the media yesterday, and he said that his final counter offer to the Blue Jays was 15 years, $600 million, which I don't blame the Blue Jays for saying, nah, I'm good. What are your thoughts on whether he's going to be a Yankee at some point? I can't see the Yankees going to that level for a first baseman, but they're going to need a first baseman next year. You know, Tucker, depending on what happens and how the outfield shakes out, is available. Bellinger's going to be a free agent if he opts out, which he probably will if he has a good year. How do you see them allocating this money? Who do you think they're going to go after?
Kyle Tucker is the no-brainer. It's not that I don't want Vladdy. I think he's a really good player, but I'm in the mindset that Judge is going to end up being the first baseman in like a year or two. So I don't really want to lock up that position long-term. I know Vladdy also plays third, and that's kind of his preferred position, but he's a better first baseman than third baseman. I don't really feel like he can move that well, honestly, so I'd rather him at first if you were to sign him. But so he asked for $15,600. What is that, $40 a year? So that's Judge money. But like, also, what is Toronto doing? You keep like trying to sign all these free agents. Nobody wants your money. You try to sign Ohtani. You try to sign Soto. They all said, thanks, take a hike. And now you got this franchise guy who was born in Canada, whose dad played for the Expos. He's Canada's dude, right? And now you don't want to sign him? That doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know what they're doing. So
I mean, it sounds like they offered him $400 million or so, which is a lot for a first baseman, dude. Especially a guy who's, if we look at him objectively, he's had weight problems, and he's 25 years old. He's already a couple of times in his career showed up to camp overweight. I think it's going to be an issue. When this guy's 35, he's going to look like Miguel Cabrera did, like where he can't run, he can't move. Now, Cabrera was an all-time hitter. He was a Triple Crown guy, and maybe Vladdy's that guy too, and maybe it ends up being worth it. But I don't see anyone giving him $600 million and 400 million is kind of a stretch. I agree with you. I think I'd go after Tucker, and I think Bellinger. You move Judge to first base. You put Bellinger back in right, or Bellinger in center, and Tucker in right, and then hopefully Dominguez is your left fielder. We'll see. Maybe Dominguez takes over at DH if he can hit but can't field. Giancarlo's not going to be with us forever. I mean, literally, he's going to die if he keeps falling apart. But I think that
3 years left. I think.
Yeah,
this year and 2 more years.
You mean in his life or on his contract?
On his contract.
It is in his bones. His bones are going to turn to dust with it. He's already in rigor mortis. Yeah. We're being tough on Giancarlo, our ALCS MVP.
Yeah. I think we're still paying Hicks, right? This is the last year of his deal.
Yeah, we're still paying Hicks. We're still paying DJ LeMahieu for a couple of years.
Yep.
So
that's $25 million right there down the drain. By the way, just
Bean Berna says, best case scenario, Ben Rice mashes this year and earns the spot. I would love that. I would love Ben Rice to turn it on and be it like the guy Greg Bird was supposed to be. That typical left-handed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be sick. All right, let's move on. Let's turn to the audience portion of the show. We got a couple of voicemails here. Let's start with this voicemail about Oswaldo.
Hey, Derek, it's Jack calling. I was calling about the battle at third base. So I think Oswaldo Cabrera has shown that as of now, he is the better bat. But he's also your utility guy. So I guess my question is, do you think Oswaldo is more useful to the Yankees as a whole as your utility guy where he's not going to be playing every day, you're taking that bat out of the lineup, or as your third baseman? Thanks, Derek.
So I'll give my thoughts, and then I want to hear your thoughts on this, DK. I think he's more valuable as a utility guy because he can play all those positions. He plays first base, which Peraza doesn't play, which Vivas doesn't play. He can play the outfield. He played right field above average. He played left field. He wasn't great out there. But he said he wants to catch. I mean, the guy is just a versatile guy. And I don't get this obsession with pulling his bat out of the lineup. He had like a 650 OPS last year. He is not a good hitter. He hit well in spurts. I feel like he's a clutch hitter. Like, he had some big moments in that Astros series to open up the season. He got off to a good start. But there was about a 2.5 month stretch there where he did nothing. He didn't even really get any at-bats in the postseason. What are your thoughts? I would rather see him be the utility guy.
100%. I'm in lockstep. I'd much rather see him win the utility role. He's I think there's a lot of like pinstripe goggles with him. I think he's kind of a fan favorite. He's a homegrown guy, and he kind of has this like fun personality. And I love him, dude. I love him too. But I think that he's much more valuable as a utility player to play everywhere. He's not really a great hitter, like you said. He's a much better left-handed hitter than a right-handed hitter, like to the point where I almost feel like he should just give up on switch hitting, because last season they had him hitting lefty against certain lefties, like not even hitting righty against certain lefties. So just give up on switch hitting, honestly, at this point. Just be a lefty. And I would much rather him play everywhere because he's shown the versatility. And in this day and age, dude, everyone's getting a day here or there. I feel like he's still going to get in like 4 games a week as a utility guy.
Exactly,
just kind of playing everywhere. Like, I don't think it's like he's never going to play. He'll get in there. Everybody needs a day nowadays anyway.
But here's my other concern. Peraza has done jack shit this spring training. He looks awful. Like he looks great at third base. He can pick it. That's always been the thing. But I think it's one of those things where they've kept tweaking his swing and his stance. Like they fixed it until it was broken. Do you understand? Like he was a great prospect, hitting for a ton of power in the minor leagues. I think he hit like 25 home runs one year, and now he just looks awful and he hits everything on the ground. I really want him to either start hitting or Vivas to maybe step up or to go out and make a trade. I think. If you really can't find anybody, I would rather they went out and got Arenado than JD Martinez. Arenado at least is good at avoiding strikeouts, and he's an elite defender. JD Martinez is a one-dimensional guy, and if Stanton comes back in August, then you've got 2 one-dimensional players on the roster, and you got to release one of them. So, that's kind of where I stand. All right.
I'm disappointed in Peraza. I was really rooting for him to kind of step up and take that third base role. He's 24 years old. Well, we're the same age. He's 24 years old. It's funny that I'm like shitting on a guy who's my age, like literally on the Yankees right now, but that's my job here. So he hasn't hit at all. He looks great defensively at third, and he's out of options now. So if he doesn't make the roster, then another team is probably going to take him, right? And then typical Yankees, you had an elite prospect that you either didn't give the runway to play or you didn't trade him. So you just lost him. You shot the asset. Kind of like Clint Frazier, kind of like Miguel Andujar. You did the same thing to them. And I remember, Derek, when I first started on this show with you, I told you that. I was like, I'm so afraid of him becoming the next Clint Frazier, and we're knocking on the door of that right now, man. It's ridiculous. Yeah. They do this constantly. So at this point, it's like he's a shot asset. I don't think he's going to hit at the major league level. So just, I don't know, man. Just like at this point, just put in Vivas or Waldo, I guess, at third. Or I think they're going to roll this out on opening day. They're not going to address third base until the deadline, until teams are out of it and see kind of where they're at. And to everybody who's like, oh, Kyle Tucker maybe at the deadline. He's not getting moved. I think the Cubs are actually pretty good.
If the Cubs fall out, they could be. But if they have injuries, if they fall out of it, I mean, it's not necessarily a strong Central Division this year in the National League. But the Brewers are pretty good. One thing that the Cubs do is they hang around, right? They're not a great team, but they're like decent enough to be in the wild card race. And if you got a chance to get to the playoffs, you're going to keep everybody. But if they fall out of it, if they have injuries, whatever, I could see him getting moved. Especially because they're not going to re-sign. He's going to hit free agency, right? He's going to be a free agent. So, he's going to get a big deal. All right, let's get one more voicemail here.
Hey, Derek, it's Bob from Ohio. Great show.
Hi, Bob.
The Stanton thing is kind of a mystery. I'm guessing they gave him the option. Somebody talked him into rest and rehab at the end of the season, and it just didn't pan out. So hopefully he's back in a month or two. From what I've heard, the PRP injections, people recover pretty well from those, so keep my fingers crossed. As far as everything else, praying that Dominguez can learn how to field halfway decent for us, and hoping we get some kind of backup at third base, and like they've been talking about, a right-handed hitter for a third base outfield. So, what do you think? I thought
good call, man. Good call. I don't exactly think that Giancarlo Stanton is going to be a quick healer. 3 PRP injections, that right there is already pushing it. I tell you what, TK, I'm going to go out on a limb. I don't think Giancarlo plays for the New York Yankees this year. Your thoughts?
Wow, that's like a singeing hot take, dude. I don't think that. I don't think it's that like far gone. I'm
saying surgery. Surgery's going to happen.
Even if surgery happens, I guess he would be back in like what, late August. So there'd be like a month.
I mean, if he healed like a normal human being, but he takes forever to heal, and surgery on both elbows. What kind of shape is he going to be in when he comes back? I think the surgery is going to happen, and I'm just not. And I don't trust the Yankees to be aggressive with it. Like, they should have got it done, like, now if they were going to do it. They're going to wait till June and have it done. And then he'll be back the last week of the season. Well, we're counting on Giancarlo to come back and save us for the playoffs.
Listen, though, man. All right, let's just say in this scenario, he doesn't get one regular season at bat. And then there's just like a random PR drop. Giancarlo Stanton will be activated for the ALDS roster. Like inject that into my veins right there. Just inject it into my veins.
Well, seeing as how it takes him a month to come back and hit with any kind of a rhythm when he comes back off the IL, I don't think they would do that. But I'll give you a scenario, okay? He comes back in September, all right? He hits 190 in September, but he hits 3 home runs in the final week. Yeah, then he's probably in the lineup. But if he doesn't hit in September at all, I don't think you can do it. I don't think you could take that risk.
I don't know. It's tough to say. He just, dude, like, I don't know what it is with him. It's just that when October baseball rolls around, he just turns it on every time without fail. I don't know how. I don't know what he does to his mechanics. If he's smoking a bit of the Boubange before in the clubhouse, like, I don't know what's going on with him, man. But October baseball rolls around. he just gets the October chill and he turns it on. The hyperbolic chamber, just get him out.
I think it's
should freeze him in the hyperbolic chamber in the clubhouse, just suspended like this in animation the entire season until it's ready to go.
So first of all, hyperbolic is when something has there's been hyperbole used. Hyperbaric chamber is what Michael Jackson slept in.
Excuse me, I got my words.
Sorry, it was killing me. Accent VJ says, can you do surgery on both elbows at the same time? How will the guy feed himself? It's going to be like, somebody's going to be up there, some supermodel with the spoon. Here comes the applesauce,
Dude, there was a video of him bench pressing a supermodel. You don't think that he's going to get...
I mean, what
fine.
do you do on your off days? I mean, I don't
he's fine. Don't worry.
All right, TK, we're going to call it a night. Thanks for joining, everybody. Welcome to another season of the Derek and TK show here on Pinstripe Territory. We're going to have a blast all year, so go ahead and like and subscribe. And don't forget to follow on all your favorite podcast platforms, part of the Foul Territory Network. TK, I wish you the best. Good luck on all your movie roles. TK's our man. He's been getting all sorts of callbacks and stuff. I told him he looks like Timothy Chalamet. I just watched that Bob Dylan movie. Did you see it? The Complete Unknown?
I haven't seen it, but he apparently put in a lot of work in that role, man. And then he lost to a guy who used artificial intelligence. So,
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell you guys the similarities here that TK informed me about him and Mr. Timothy Chalamet. Both French-American, both from New York, both sports fans, both great hair. You look just like him. Can you sing? Give me a little Bob Dylan. Give me a little...
Can I give you... Can I give you some Bob Dylan? I'd have to take my 5 years of voice lessons. Mais je parle français couramment, juste comme Timothée Chalamet.
There we go.
What?
I got a feeling in my brain, boy. I believe I'm starting to die, or whatever it goes.
Yeah.
I can't do it. I can't sing. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next time.
See ya.
Hey, while I've got you here, be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Pinstripe Territory is the official Yankees podcast of the Foul Territory Network. We are home to the #1 most watched MLB postgame show on YouTube since 2021. We're here after every Yankees game and for reactions to all the best news and rumors during the offseason. Be a part of the show by calling into the voicemail 718-899-1068. Try to keep it clean for me. And if you ever miss us on YouTube, be sure and subscribe on all your favorite podcast platforms. Go ahead and rate us 5 stars. It'll help other people find the show. Thanks for watching. See ya.